What's up, y'all? Wes Mitchell here, back on the Gamecock Central YouTube and on GamecockCentral.com. Thanks for joining us. I guess maybe almost a week since we've done one of these videos, so wanted to hop back on today and talk about new South Carolina commitment, Jayden Johnson from Cedartown, Georgia. Jayden, a big kid, 6'2", 200 pounds, and listed as an athlete on Rivals.com, a three-star athlete, and someone that South Carolina really has been recruiting for a while now, and was able to land a commitment from him just here earlier this week on Monday afternoon as we record here on Tuesday. Again, Jayden, a kid that is a three-star guy and probably falls into that category that we've been talking about for a while now, as someone who, really probably would have had an opportunity to move up in the rankings and could have moved up, on some teams' recruiting boards as well if he had had the opportunity to go out and actually, take in some camps and have spring practice and all that stuff. And certainly I think all those things have hurt Jayden. But someone who's a really good athlete, plays a number of positions. We'll, as I load up hudl here, we'll get to what Jayden looks like on film here in a second. But someone, again, you see the size there, 6'2", 196. Actually, from what I've been told, he's probably over 200 pounds. Just a big-bodied athlete and someone that, I think South Carolina is clearly pretty high on. Here you're going to see him lined up at wide receiver. And like I said, does a little bit of everything for his high school, doesn't really come off the field, was forced into action at quarterback. Here you see him right here at QB last year because of an injury at the position, and just really took over and played really well at that spot. He does obviously play DB too. That's where he's going to play for South Carolina. Here you see him lining up at cornerback. Though I think the question really that I have is where does he actually end up playing for South Carolina within that secondary? Obviously, they cross-train guys, among multiple positions, cornerback, nickelback, safety. I think here you see great break on the ball here. The kid really, to be the size that he is, has really nice change of direction and plays actually a lot of cornerback, plays some man coverage, and that's something that with everything else that he does should clearly help him at South Carolina. The ball skills are there, and just is a really comfortable athlete in space. But I think we've seen South Carolina, we've seen Will Muschamp have some success moving quarterbacks to the defensive side of the ball. In the case of Jayden, this is someone who obviously already has quite a bit of experience on the defensive side of the ball. Still a little bit raw over there, but just that experience plus the experience he has at quarterback, I think always helps, because quarterbacks have to have obviously a feel for the game. If you're on defense after having played the quarterback position, you know what an offense is trying to do to you, as a defense. And I especially think if you look at South Carolina's scheme and the safety position in general, that's a spot that requires a lot mentally from the guys playing there. So I think you look and, this is a situation where that probably makes for a nice match as far as taking a quarterback, much like R.J. Roderick, who played quarterback in high school, and sliding him over to the defensive side of the ball. But, yeah, athletically, I mean, you see the film here. You can see all the traits. Big, thick kid. I'm not even – and he's comfortable out here on the edge. Here you see him in man coverage again, physical guy. You'll see his physicality running the football a bit at quarterback as well. But, I mean, I'm not so sure that he doesn't even potentially grow into a super athletic linebacker. I mean, you look at the frame. When I see guys with this type of frame already at the high school level, linebacker is a very real possibility. So I want to see how much bigger does Jayden Johnson get during his senior. He's still got an entire summer and then an entire senior year. How much bigger does he get during his final year in high school? And then, of course, how much bigger does he start to get once he gets into that college program? I mean, the kid is huge. So I think any number of different ways this thing could go. And if it didn't work out on the defensive side of the ball, I still think he's actually pretty dang good. There you see some explosiveness. Wow. Hits the hole hard, can actually make people miss as well. But I think his physicality, his explosiveness at quarterback is on full display. And I'm going to sort of let these run here so you can see a few more of the plays he makes. But then I'm going to, there you see him stand in and, deliver a dime, playing quarterback. Some toughness. Takes some toughness to stand in there and deliver the ball like that with a guy in your face. And actually wouldn't be surprised if there aren't some smaller schools who are looking at him at quarterback as well. But again, South Carolina wants him at DB. T-Rob and Will Muschamp were heavily involved in his recruitment. Gamecocks landing him over, I would say, finalists were Georgia Tech and Arkansas. That's not, he put out a top 10. That wasn't like an official Final Three or anything like that. But those seem to be the other schools that South Carolina had to battle with the most to land him. And Oklahoma, I would say, is probably the biggest offer that Jayden Johnson had. But he did have, I believe, 20-plus offers. And see, here you see him playing in the box. I think playing some linebacker eventually. Really good quickness there, lateral quickness. Gets into the backfield. Here you see him basically playing some nickel. It seems to me like they just used him week in, week out at whatever spot they needed him the most. So, but I'm going to put on the basketball tape here because I do think, you can learn a lot from watching a football player play basketball. Just from an athletic standpoint, you always want guys that play multiple sports. And, I think Jayden is a guy clearly who excels on the basketball court as well and just has some fluidity. That's what I look at is with the alley-oop there. He is number 5 in these clips, I believe. Yeah, he's 5. Has some bounce to his game. Again, a fluid athlete. Has very good dexterity, body control, ball skills, nice hands, actually, good quick hands, hand-eye coordination. The more that I've followed recruiting and done this type of thing, the more I think you can learn a lot from watching a football player, particularly maybe a skill guy, play some basketball. So I try to get to some basketball games if I can, and obviously through the beauty of hudl, which we want to thank for the video here today, through the beauty of hudl, you can actually always a lot of times find these guys that are really good basketball players. And some football players playing basketball, even if they're not great basketball players, it helps them, I think, with their development as a football player. But watching Jayden Johnson play basketball, he actually appears to be a really good basketball player as well. So I think, guys, these are the type of kids South Carolina needs to go get right now. They're, he's not quite as highly rated, obviously, as I know some of the fans want, but he's someone that can move up in the recruiting rankings. Really, right now, the recruiting rankings, because there are no camps, there's no spring practice, it's a bit of a crapshoot right now. So the information you're able to get on a kid and put your eyes on a kid that would normally be taking place right now, this is when the rankings will be being updated. And they have been updated, but there's just not as much information about a kid where you can see him in person like you would in a normal year because of the pandemic. So if you're South Carolina, obviously everybody knows there was a little bit of a disappointing year last year, understatement. But if you're going to land guys right now, it needs to be these type of guys that are great athletes, can play multiple positions, and that you get in on early, and then you get them in, develop them, and sort of see where it falls. So I'm a big fan. I think Jayden Johnson has a bright future ahead of himself. I think the upside is tremendous, and where he actually ends up will be very interesting to see. It could be any number of positions in the secondary. Again, like I said, I think he starts out at safety, but there's that little bit in the back of my mind that says with that frame, that athleticism, that toughness, the guy maybe even one day could be a linebacker, but that's just my personal opinion. coming to South Carolina as a defensive back. So hope you enjoyed this. As always, want to invite you to subscribe to our Gamecock Central YouTube, and, of course, check out GamecockCentral.com for all of your Gamecock Central needs.